So today is the council meeting for May the 13th, 2019. And I'd like to acknowledge that the land that we gather on is Treaty 2 land, known as First Nations territory, homeland of the Anishinaabe, Ojibwe, and Métis Nation. Our first resolution is moved by Councillor Reel, seconded by Councillor Juba. Be it resolved that the regular council meeting agenda be amended as follows, with the addition for 9G that the Canadian Enduracoat Corporation contract approval be added to the agenda. I'd like to call the question. All those in favor? That motion is carried. Our next motion is moved by Councillor Loughlin, seconded by Councillor Reel. Be it resolved that Council accepts the regular agenda as amended. I'd like to call the question. All those in favor? That's carried. And we're just going to do a little switcheroo on our agenda here. First of all, I would like to acknowledge one of our new people here today. We have a new reporter from CKDM who is going to be attending our meetings into the future. So we're welcoming Josh Sigurdsson, who comes from Saskatoon, and he's only been a Dauphin for a couple of weeks. And several of us have heard your voice on the radio, Josh, and we think you have a great voice, and we welcome you to Dauphin. So.
Thank you.
And other people that we have here today, we're going to be having a proclamation for Safe Grad, and I will read that in just a moment, but we have 3 guests here today that are representing Safe Grad. These are people from the executive, and they have been very busy with getting all the Safe Grad decision-making and organization into place. So we have Anna Arisco, we have Alyssa Garlick, who is the chair, and we have Cameron Krauser, who is the sponsorship person, and I should have mentioned too that Anna is the co-chair. That's correct. Okay, so. And our proclamation reads, whereas planning for Dauphin's Safe Grad event on June 22nd, 2019 has been well underway for the past several months, and whereas the overarching objective is to plan, promote, and organize an enjoyable, memorable, and safe graduation celebration for DRCSS students, guests, and friends, and whereas graduates and families are made aware of the numerous responsibilities that are associated with hosting and participating within the confines of the Safe Grad framework, and whereas the community can take pride in efforts made to recognize the significant milestone in the lives of students, while students, parents, and volunteers devote time, energy, and expertise to promote and organize Safe Grad within a secure and a controlled environment. And whereas the Safe Grad 2019 committee continues to receive tremendous dedicated support from individuals, businesses, and organizations for this initiative, now therefore, we, the Council of the City of Dauphin, do hereby proclaim May 20th to 26th, 2019 as Safe Grad Awareness Week, dated at the City of Dauphin in the province of Manitoba, this 13th day of May 2019. And just in terms, that's one of the consent agenda items, so I guess it's part of the move by Councillor Juba and seconded by Councillor Stakilo, just to make it official. So we're not going to vote on that resolution because we have other items on that. But we do have a proclamation, so I would ask that you come forward. And also Ashton is our youth member, so while he's not involved in grad yet, he will be in a couple of years, so you can join our photo opportunity here as well, Ashton. So come on forward.
Read it.
Yeah. I'd like to say thank you for the leadership that you have shown through your broadcast. It is very, very important and you give us the one for the proud of what you're doing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Moved by Councillor Juba, seconded by Councillor Laughlin. Be resolved that the reading be waived and that Council accepts and approves as circulated the minutes of the following meetings. We had a regular Council meeting on April 23rd, 2019, and we also had a special Council meeting on May the 6th, 2019, where we went over our financial plan for 2019. So I'll call the question. All those in favor? Motion is carried. And our next motion, moved by Councillor Laughlin, seconded by Councillor Reel, be it resolved that Council accepts as information the presentation by Communities in Bloom representative Patty Eilers. And it's a great day for you to be presenting. The temperature was 27 today, so our summer is off and running.
Oh, you want me to say that?
Christian seems to be shy. He's part of our committee.
Where do you want me to go?
Right here.
Okay.
Gotta face the judges. Okay. Communities in Bloom, we have, of course, volunteers and we have staff. So for the city, myself and Christian represent Communities in Bloom. And then we have the volunteers, Mark Vasilishin, Ray Starzinski, Jim Hiska, who is sitting to my far right, and Alison Moss. She was with us and she's going to take on another position, so we'll miss her. We have Sandra Sloan, Susie Secord, and Joanna Cooper. And then also we have from the city staff, Shelby Tickleys and Renee St. Godard, who help us with our programming. And from the DRS staff, we have Edward Simpson and Wes Carnegie. So we have a very fluid kind of committee, and they all have different responsibilities and assist us in carrying out our program criteria and evaluation. And Christian was really scared that I would get him to read all the program criteria and evaluation. So he's new to our members, so he's just getting acquainted with all this. But really the program is that we have trained volunteer judges that come and evaluate the entire community. It includes municipalities, businesses, institutions, and residents, including our volunteer effort as well as our community involvement in all aspects of our community. So the criteria we have is tidiness, environmental action, heritage conservation, urban forestry, landscape, and floral display. And a lot of times people see Communities in Bloom and they only think of flowers. So that's the unfortunate part, because Communities in Bloom actually means that the communities are blooming in getting better and greater in all aspects. So it is basically the development, greater development of the communities. Tidiness, when we look at that, we look at parks and green spaces, our boulevard sidewalks, everything in the municipal, commercial, and institution and residential properties, ditches, road shoulders, vacant lots, which is a real problematic in Dauphin, signs and buildings, weed control, another thing that we really have to gear on, litter cleanup, and also graffiti prevention and removal. Environmental action. This is again geared to pertains to the impact of human activities in our environment and subsequent efforts and achievements of the community. So we do this by, of course, City Council in implementing certain policies, bylaws, programs, and best practices for waste reduction and landfill diversion, composting sites, hazardous waste collection, water conservation, energy conservation, and environmental stewardship. So this is all towards sustainable of green spaces in our community. And of course, the heritage conservation is to preserve our natural and cultural heritage within the community, again with policies, plans, and action concerning all the elements of our biodiversity, of our flora and ecosystems. Culture conservation refers to the heritage that defines our community, so it'll be all our heritage buildings, such as the Dauphin Fort Dauphin Museum, our CN station, and also the Watson Art Center. And we also will look at the tree replacement policy. Sorry, I got lost there. Our monuments and our and also our tradition and customs and festivals and celebration. And I was skipping already to urban forestry because our mayor had suggested we plant 100 trees, and really with we work with the Dauphin Rec Services in this, and basically we're looking at 50 trees per year at the minimum. And this also includes policies and bylaws and standards for tree management, as well as the tree replacement policy, our pollinator-friendly tree selection, and tree inventory and integrated pest management. Now, this has been when I was sitting on the national board, this really became a priority and a recognition for communities who do a lot in this capacity. And the reason being is this is one of the things that we can help in dealing with climate change. So there's emphasis really put on this category, and we've done a lot towards this. Of course, there's landscaping as well, another criteria which involves planning, designing, construction, and maintenance of parks and green spaces. And also the intended use and location for year-round basis. It's also for native and introduced materials, for balance of plants, materials, and also integration of our hard surfaces, which means our pavements and sidewalks, to our art elements in our community, use of turf and ground covers. It's basically, we want our landscape design to harmonize the interests of the sectors of the community, and what we look at is standards of execution and maintenance, basically trying to follow best practices that have been identified. And it includes naturalization, use of ground cover, and also wildflowers. Floral displays, again, the efforts of the municipality and the businesses to design, plan, and maintain a floral display of high quality standards. And this would include annual, perennials, bulbs, ornamental grass, edible plants, and water efficiencies, and pollinator-friendly plants. That's to do with also our flower beds and our containers and baskets and window boxes. Now, the part of this that involves all of these that I've just mentioned, all these criteria, is our community involvement. So they really look at what and how our community is involved in all of these actions. And one of the things that Dauphin is recognized for is their really great volunteer base. So I just wanted to make that aware. I just wanted to also talk about some of the projects. I think a lot of you already know, but I think this is more for the community members because we've discussed a lot of these before. So Butterfly Garden in Vermilion Park, and we also want instructional signage there. The solar lighting in the West End Community Garden, that's to tie in with what the city is doing as far as all the solar lights, so part of that. Rejuvenating the berry patch, and again, we want a lot of the signage has to be replaced and also instructional. And we're trying to plant some more plants that wouldn't hinder our sight line for the CN trucks. The Green Dauphin Rain Catchment Project, that's again to catch the rainwater and use that for our plants. It's healthier for our plants. And of course, it's another conservation effort. Reforestation, as I mentioned before, the 50 trees annually plus, and also that we have a tree bylaw, because that's something that what other communities have, and we really haven't had one in our community. The raised garden beds, we're looking, this is futuristic, this will be some part of our planning in Meadowlark Park. And of course, our community gardens in the West End, the Dauphin Friendship Center and Parkland Crossing. And I think we've already finished the bathhouses. I think we've got just a few left. I believe there's only 10 left now. Yeah, and so again, that's to do with control of our mosquitoes in our community. And we have a chip and soil day coming up on May 25th. And also we're looking at the development of the Triangle Park on Buchanan Avenue. And that's that little B as you come into town where there's a planter and there's seating. We want to redo that because it's been falling apart. So that's one of the projects that we would like to do is install garbage and recycling there, benches and planters. We're also working on a memorial plaque to honor past contributors to the Main Street planters, and that will be coming in. What I want to mention is in all of these projects that we work with, there's a real involvement with a lot of other community, such as Dauphin Neighborhood Renewal, the Healthy Together Now Committee, which is really led by the Prairie Mountain Health. We've got the Dauphin Friendship Center. We also have the high school involved, especially their carpentry and their art program. We have a lot of coordinated work with the Dauphin Regional, with the DRS, our rec services, and also with MMF, which is the Northwest Métis Council. So all of these are groups that involve, as well as our Dauphin and District Community Foundation, where we get financial support. And so all of this is really in making our committee work. We rely on all these to help us with our programming. And of course, we can't forget Secord Crow greenhouses and versus greenhouse soil and landscaping as well in helping us with all our endeavors. They play a great part, as well as the city for giving financial assistance as well. So, that wasn't bad, Christian, was it?
I didn't have to say a word.
You just smiled. Okay, is there any questions? Gee, you must have covered it all. There was more members to come, but there was a couple that couldn't come at the last minute, and I want to acknowledge that Jim Heshka does all our photo and has taken some awesome pictures to help us with our profile book and making it what it is. So, since I don't have any questions,
So I think on behalf of the council, we'd like to offer our congratulations because your committee is one of the busiest. You have so many projects going. You have a lot of balls in the air and you have lots of relationships working with all these other groups and tying everything together, and we end up having a pretty amazing end result. Did you want to just speak about that report that you do for when the community is judged? Because you have a very nice synopsis about whatever's happening in the community.
So what we have is a profile book, and we actually expand on all of these categories. So when we have the judges, these volunteer judges that come in, we talk about everything that we do in each of these areas, and we try to highlight it. And what we're looking towards is we've won all the categories as far as our national and the Canadian. We've won our provincial, we won our Canadian, and our next step is to be with the international competition, but we've got a lot of things that we have to finish and complete before I think we're ready for competing in the international. And so all of this is to recognize all the groups who work in each of these categories. So we try to make sure that we recognize all our community, because there's a lot of people behind the scenes. All our community members do a lot of things. You just drive around Dauphin and you can see just by the care that they do even in their own yards, but also all the activities we have and all the volunteers that come out to help with all the events, whether it be something at the Fort Dauphin Museum or at the Allied Arts Center, or at the Ukrainian Festival, and everything that we do, even during winter, the programming that's carried on. So it's really important that we recognize that it's a community member thing. We try to recognize all the community members, however they're involved in this regard, as well as all the different groups that help our community to be what it is.
Thank you. Okay, if there's nothing further, thank you very much for your presentation. So the motion was on the floor that was moved by Councillor Rockland and seconded by Councillor Reel that we accept as information in their presentation. So I'll call the question. All those in favor? Okay, and that motion is carried. Moved by Councillor Juba, seconded by Councillor Stakilo, be resolved that all items listed under item 5 consent agenda be approved as follows and form part of these minutes. We have the proclamation on Safe Grad, and as recommended by Deputy Mayor and City Manager, outstanding water accounts that will be added to taxes be resolved that the following water amounts be added. Roll number 0043800.000. The amount is $219.22. Property address 138 4th Avenue Southwest, and details current owner did not pay the final utility bill. And as recommended by the Director of Finance and the Utility Clerk, I guess that was this, okay. And our filing items, Association of Manitoba Municipalities, the message from the Executive Director that he is retiring, the Parkland District update for April 2019, the 2019 June District Resolution deadline, the insurance refunds and rebates, the member advisories, the Disaster Financial Assistance Program has been updated, the waste management certification requirements have come into effect, news bulletins on April 15th, 2019 and May 2nd, 2019, Canadian Futures Parkland newsletter for April 2019, Manitoba Ombuds News 2019 number 1, Stats Canada, the Business and Community Newsletter, April 2019, Asian Heritage Month 2019, Asian Canadian Youth Shaping Canada's Future, MuniSite Limited, which is a Municipal Innovation Award, and JA Manitoba, which was a request for funding, and these items were recommended by the Deputy Mayor and City Manager. And that's it for information for that resolution, so any discussion? If not, I'll call the question. All those in favor? That motion is carried. The next motion moved by Councillor Reel, seconded by Councillor Stakilo. Be it resolved that Council accepts as information the following corporate report for this meeting on May 13th by our City Manager.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. It's been 3 weeks since our last meeting, and it seems like I've kind of done nothing else except go to meetings since then. So my report does talk about a few of the things that I attended. One was on April 25th, the Crisis Prevention Task Force meeting. This group met and reviewed the Community Resource Directory that is being compiled. And the group discussed several other issues that will be handled by organizations that are already responsible for that in the community. On April 26th, I attended an RM City Liaison Committee meeting. The group met and established some guiding principles for their upcoming discussions. 3 topics that were on the agenda included recreation funding, economic development, and zebra mussel decontamination site. Due to time constraints, the topic of economic development was tabled to a future meeting. And the next meeting is actually later this week. From April 28th to May 1st, I attended the Manitoba Municipal Administrators Association, or MMAA conference, and that was in Brandon. And the Deputy City Manager attended as well. It is that association's membership is comprised primarily of CAOs, city managers, deputy city managers, assistant CAOs, and some other office staff. It's always great to see faces that we've been seeing for years, and for our deputy city manager to meet some of the people or put some faces to names as we consult frequently with each other, and it's great to have a relationship prior to calling someone with a question or a concern. It was a good conference, and a lot of relevant information was presented. I attended all of the plenary sessions, which included greetings from dignitaries, information about leadership and goal setting, assessment, and asset management. Further, I attended breakout sessions regarding the Investing in Canada Infrastructure Program, or ICIP, and that was for me to get as much information I can about that lagoon grant that we're looking for, and the application process is not open and won't be open until later this summer on that one. I also attended some sessions on communication and administrative best practices. On May 2nd, the Economic Development Manager and I performed some interviews for Marketing Coordinator. We received 13 applications and interviewed 4 candidates, and currently we are reviewing a written submission, and we'll discuss, the Economic Development Manager and I will discuss that this week. On May 3rd, I attended a meeting regarding the Building Sustainable Communities program. So Manitoba Municipal Relations provided a presentation and facilitated a discussion at City Hall regarding their Building Sustainable Communities program. This program is different in 2019 in that it combines 7 programs that were offered in previous years. In attendance were representatives from the City of Dauphin, Dauphin Recreation Services, and Dauphin Neighborhood Renewal. We reviewed projects that our respective groups are considering for application, as well as discussed some that we thought might be coming in. And then the provincial representatives provided feedback regarding the suitability of those projects. In previous years, each application required a certified resolution, a council resolution of support. This year, the municipalities, each municipality's chief administrative officer or city manager can provide that letter of support. However, later on in this meeting, we will discuss a resolution that will have administration compiling a list of requests. I will be circulating that list to council prior to providing any letters of support, and just to note, the applications for this funding are due on May 22nd, so next week. On May 6th, we had our financial plan public hearing, and there were 3 members of the public, and they all had several questions, so that was great to see. I'd like to thank council for their support for ongoing work and for projects in the city, as well as to thank administration for the assistance in preparing the budget information and the documentation. Second and third readings of the tax levy bylaw will be done at tonight's meeting. Once that is passed, administration can then submit paperwork to the province, and our 2019 financial plan will be submitted. Along with many staff members, most of council, and just about 100 community members, I attended the State of the City address on May 7th at the Aspen Lodge at Parkland Rec Complex. It was great to see such a good turnout, and it's very interesting to see all of the city's projects and the region's projects put into one presentation, to see them all in one spot. Regarding the Safe Schools Route, administration appreciates council's continued support for the Safe Schools Route and protected bike lanes. Administration is working with individual property owners to address their issues on a case-by-case basis. There have been many observations that individuals are using the bike lanes. I was driving on Mountain Road today to look at a separate issue and saw 2 large groups using it, and it was fantastic to see. And regarding a tax sale, at this time there are 3 properties that qualify for tax sale. The tax sale date is November 20th, 2019. And these are properties that have outstanding taxes for the years 2016, 17, and 18. Administration has conducted or attempted significant communications with each property owner, and now the process requires that the city pass the administration of a tax sale to a third party that we have contracted called Tax Service. And they are now going to be trying to contact each property owner. Note that a property can be redeemed from a property, a property owner can redeem a property from tax sale by paying the outstanding taxes, interest and penalties prior to the sale date. But something that's very interesting is that they cannot purchase the property in the tax sale. And that concludes my report.
Any questions of our city manager about her report? Okay, I'll call the question. The motion is on the floor. All those in favor? That motion is carried. Moved by Councillor Sticilo, seconded by Councillor Juba, be it resolved that the financial accounts, having been examined by council, be hereby authorized and approved as follows. The check totals, check numbers 24,667 to 24,750, a total of 84 checks for a total amount of $638,847.80. And in terms of voided checks in current range and past range, there are none. And electronic payments for April 2019, there were 6 of them. These are basically mostly payroll, and they totaled $148,406.77. And I know one of the things Mayor Al always does when we're looking at check totals, he identifies some of the larger amounts, and so as part of that check total for this round, there was an insurance premium of just over $300,000, and there was $29,000 worth of water chemicals, and then all sorts of other things which add up to that total. Are there any questions about these financial accounts? Okay, so I'll call the question. All in favor? That motion is carried. Moved by Councillor Reel, seconded by Councillor Sticilo. Be it resolved that Council accepts as information the following Engineering Department staff reports for the May 13th, 2019 regular Council meeting. We received a construction and maintenance foreman report and a building inspector report. Any questions about those? Okay, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Okay. This motion is carried. Moved by Councillor Juba, seconded by Councillor Reel. Be it resolved that Council accepts as information the minutes and reports of the following committees. And these are basically committees where we make financial contributions, so they keep us abreast of what it is that's happening. So we have Parkland Regional Library. They have 3 reports. Regular board meeting from April 15th, the director's report of the same day, and the budget report of the same day. Intermountain Conservation District, they had 2 regular board meetings, one on February 20th and one on March 21st. Fort Dauphin Museum forwarded their regular board meeting report of April 3rd, their annual meeting of May 2nd earlier this month, their manager's report of May 1st this month, plus their financials. Dauphin Rec Services forwarded their regular board meeting from March 27th, plus their board reports for April 2019, and their revenue and expenditures ending the end of March 31st. And finally, the Dauphin Vet Services District Board forwarded their annual general meeting minutes from December the 4th, and their budget for this year and their financial statements as of December 31st, 2018. Are there any questions or discussion about any of these reports? Okay, seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor of accepting them as information? Okay, that motion is carried. Moved by Councillor Reel, seconded by Councillor Loughlin. Be it resolved that Council accepts as information a letter dated April 26, 2019 from Cliff Cullen, who is our Minister of Justice, acknowledging a receipt of Mayor Dauphin's correspondence regarding public safety concerns and advising that a final decision for the proposed correctional rehabilitation facility for Dauphin has yet to be made. Any questions about this information? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Okay, that's carried. Moved by Councillor Stakilo, seconded by Councillor Reel. Be it resolved that Council accepts this information, a letter dated May the 3rd from Jim Irwin, Chair of the Riding Mountain UNESCO Bioserve Reserve, expressing their appreciation to the City of Dauphin for hosting the Bioserve Water Stewardship Day on April 11th, 2019. And Mayor Doan was here at that meeting, and he probably would want to speak to it, but certainly Jim Irwin was very pleased with the reception and how everything was organized, and appreciated the support for that cause. So, any discussion on that? I'll call the question. All in favor? That's carried. Moved by Councillor Stakilo, seconded by Councillor Juba. Whereas according to Section 187 of the Public Schools Act, municipalities are required to collect local school tax levies for school divisions within their boundaries. And whereas Mountain View School Division, MVSD, submitted a tax requirement notice dated March 12th with a small calculation error, be it resolved that Council accepts this information, a revised notice dated April 11th, 2019 from Lori Slapika, thank you. I used to know how to say that when I worked there. CGA, who is, Lori is the coordinator of finance with Mountain View School Division, advising of the city's requirement to levy, collect, and remit the amount of $4,665,664 to MVSD for 2019. Any questions about this motion or this matter? Councillor Others.
Are we paying more or less, and how much?
I believe it was less, and it's in the order of tens of dollars.
As it says, small calculation.
Yeah, well, small is different meaning to different people.
Yes, because it is a $4.5 million amount here, so, okay. Nothing further, I'll call the question. All in favor of this motion? Okay, motion is carried. Moved by Councillor Juba, seconded by Councillor Stakilo, whereas Council passed resolution number 2018-460, authorizing the City of Dauphin to enter into a grant agreement with the Federation of Canadian Municipalities, known as FCM, the Municipalities for Climate Innovation Program, MCIP, to fund the energy manager's work to create a community energy plan. Be it resolved that Council accepts this information, a memorandum dated May the 9th of this month from the City Manager, outlining that work successfully completed by the Energy Manager to date requires an amendment to the original agreement, and recommending that Council endorses the amended agreement between the FCM and the City of Dauphin to make a claim for the first installment of the Municipalities for Climate Innovation Program grant. Be it further resolved that Council agrees with the City Manager's recommendation and authorizes the Mayor and the City Manager to sign and seal the amended agreement between FCM and the City of Dauphin regarding the MCIP grant program. So basically, just some of the work that was outlined in this proposal has just shifted, and it just needed to be clarified to ensure that everything was on the up and up for this. Any questions about this motion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor? And this motion is carried. Moved by Councillor Juba, seconded by Councillor Stakilo. Be it resolved that Council accepts this information, a letter dated May the 7th of this month from owner Richard Sorensen and applicant John Murray, requesting the City of Dauphin to vary the flood risk level for this address, 105 6th Avenue Northwest, which is known as Lot 12, Block 17, Plan 281 at the Dauphin Land Titles Office, from 294.400 meters to 294.100 meters. Be it further resolved that Council accepts this information, a memorandum from the Building Inspector, outlining the details of the application and noting in the zoning bylaw that council may approve a variance of flood protection level. Be it further resolved that council approves the applicant's request for a variation of 0.3 meters from the required 294.4 meters to 294.1 meters of the flood protection level at the address of 105 6th Avenue Northwest, Lot 12, Block 17, Plat 281, DLTO, with the following conditions. Number 1, the city is not liable for any damages occurring as the result of a flood. And number 2, the applicant must ensure that the structure is watertight to the reduced flood protection level. Any discussion on this motion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Carried. Moved by Councillor Stukilo, seconded by Councillor Laughlin. Whereas the Noxious Weeds Act requires every municipality to be responsible for the inspection and enforcement of the noxious weeds in their respective municipalities. Be it resolved that the city accepts this information, a memorandum dated May 9th, 2019, from the Deputy City Manager, outlining that CN removes vegetation along its tracks to operate safely, but requires to be notified of any noxious weed removal requests before June 26, 2019, in order to be included in the 2019 Vegetation Management Program. Be it further resolved that Council authorizes admin to contact CN for the City of Dauphin to be added to the 2019 Vegetation Management Program for noxious weed control along CN's right-of-way. Any questions or discussion? Councillor Eilers.
Yes, this has been a real problematic for years and years. In fact, our staff have gone and cleared some of it. This is where we've lost a lot of acknowledgement for all the other good things that we do in our community. When the community and blue judges come to our community, it's quite an eyesore. And also we have some problematic land owners too, who always will cite that when we go out and we say you have to control your weeds, and the first thing they mention, of course, is the CN tracks and how how they take away from our community. In saying that, also, if they don't control the weeds, also manifest themselves into other areas, and it makes our weed management really difficult. So I'm really glad to see this. I don't know if it's Renee's work on this, but finally we've talked about this at conferences. I've met with the CN staff and I've mentioned what it takes away from our community. We can put only so many flower boxes along the CN track and make it beautiful, but their weeds take away. So I'm really glad to see this, and I hope that it's a program that continues. Thank you for following through on this.
Anything further? Okay, so I'd like to call the question. All in favor? Okay, motion is carried. Okay, moved by Councillor Juba, seconded by Councillor Stukilo. Whereas Natural Resources Canada is offering an electric vehicle and alternative fuel infrastructure initiative, whereby the Government of Canada is investing $96.4 million to support the establishment of a coast-to-coast charging network for alternative fuel infrastructure, including electric vehicles, known as EV charging stations. And whereas the funding will provide up to 50% of the total project cost to a maximum of $50,000 per charging station, be it resolved that the Council accepts this information, a memorandum dated May 8th, 2019, from the Deputy City Manager outlining Project EV3 to connect City of Dauphin to Winnipeg and other Canadian destinations to an electric vehicle fast charging network. Be it further resolved that Council supports the construction of an EV fast charger to bring the first Level 3 EV charger to the parkland, and authorizes the City Manager to sign and submit the funding application to continue discussions on the EV3 pilot project. Any discussion on this motion? The timing of this is quite timely because it's just in CKDM and the Dauphin Herald, they've had articles about the first electric car was purchased from Cooley Motors, yeah, the Volt that was purchased. And so it's a whole new world that's happening. I ended up speaking to a man at a conference who said he had put 50,000 kilometers on his electric vehicle last year. And I said, how did you do that? And he says, well, there's a website and it tells you where all the charging stations are and you just plan your trip accordingly. So this is happening, folks. So, yeah. All right. Nothing further, or call the question. All those in favor? Okay. Motion is carried. And moved by Councillor Reel, seconded by Councillor Juba, whereas the Noxious Weed Act, it has to be spring, right? All these noxious weed motions, requires every municipality to be responsible for inspection and enforcement of the noxious weeds in their respective municipalities. And whereas the Noxious Weed Act requires every municipality to appoint, by resolution, a noxious weed inspector each year for a term of 12 months. Be it resolved, the Council authorizes the appointment of Edward Simpson, Parks lead hand with the Dauphin Rec Services, and Angela Gennick, bylaw enforcement officer with the City of Dauphin, as noxious weed inspectors for the City of Dauphin as per the Noxious Weeds Act for the period ending June 1st, 2020. Be it further resolved that administration forward the inspectors' names and a copy of the appointment to Agriculture Manitoba. So this is something we do every year. Any questions? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Okay, the motion's carried. Moved by Councillor Reel, seconded by Councillor Juba. Be it resolved that Council accepts this information, a letter dated May 8th, 2019 from Alison Moss, representative of Dauphin Neighbourhood Renewal Corporation, outlining their funding application to Building Sustainable Communities program for the continuation of Unity, Women's Maker Collective, and requesting financial support from the City of Dauphin in the amount of $3,000 per year to help provide with the 2-year continuation of this program. Be it further resolved that Council supports this initiative and appreciates its value and appreciates the value it brings to our community in terms of creating community support and business opportunity for individuals, and forwards the funding request to economic development for their consideration. Any discussion on this motion? Okay, seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor? All in favor? Got to exercise, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Okay. Motion is carried. And I know it's, yeah. And just further, there will be a new person stepping into the Dauphin Neighbourhood Renewal Corporation role that Alison has been so ably filling, because Alison has accepted a job. She is going to be the new director of the Parkland Regional Library. So we're very happy to hear that, and wish her all the best in her new position. Moved by Councillor Loughlin, seconded by Councillor Juba, whereas the provincial government launched the Building Sustainable Communities program, which was formerly known as the Community Development Funding Program, and replaces 7 separate grant categories. And whereas in the past many organizations and projects in Dauphin have been funded via this important grant program, and whereas this new program requires municipal support, be it resolved that Council accepts this information, a memorandum dated May 9th of this month from the City Manager, outlining the province's Building Sustainable Communities program requirements, and indicating that the program rules allow the head of administration to provide municipal support on behalf of the municipality. Be it further resolved that Council acknowledges the City Manager to provide municipal support to Building Sustainable Community Program applicants on behalf of the City of Dauphin. Any discussion on this motion? Okay, seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor? Okay, motion is carried. Moved by Councillor Juba, seconded by Councillor Rio. Be it resolved that Council accepts this information and a proposal and agreement from Canadian Enduracoat Corporation outlining the scope of work required to clean and reline the water main on Davidson Avenue East from Barker Street to Valor Road at a cost of $209,616 plus applicable taxes. Be it further resolved that Council authorizes the Mayor and Deputy Manager to sign and seal the agreement with Canadian Enduracoat Corporation on behalf of the City of Dauphin. And that information was forwarded late this afternoon. I don't know if councillors have had a chance to find it in their mailbox. And if you have any questions, Mr. Brenner would gladly answer them. Okay, seeing none, I'll call the question then. All in favor? Okay. Motion is carried. Mr. Brenner, have we worked with this company before?
No,
Okay.
it was the company that did the pipe on Marigold, so. and
Okay,
this
they
is
did
the lining project that we talked about in November.
Okay.
On Davidson, so they'll be here on June 17th.
Okay, they're here on June 17th? Wow, this is quick. And how long does it take them to do this?
This one will take them about 5 days, they figure.
Okay.
So they're gonna do 5 different chunks, 1 chunk a day.
Okay, all right, so something to watch out for on Davidson East. Okay. Moved by Councillor Loughlin, seconded by Councillor Juba. Be it resolved that the bylaw number 03/2019, being a bylaw of the City of Dauphin to set the 2019 tax levy, be now read a second time. So the first time was passed last week at the special council meeting, and this is the second reading. Any discussion on this? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor? Okay, so that one is carried. And the next one is moved by Councillor Loughlin, seconded by Councillor Juba. Be it resolved that bylaw 03/2019, being a bylaw of the City of Dauphin to set the 2019 tax levy, be now read a third time and signed and sealed by the Mayor and City Manager. And this is a recorded vote, so I'll call the question. All those in favor? Okay, it's unanimous. And that motion is carried. Thank you. Moved by Councillor Stakilo. Moved by Councillor Stakilo, seconded by Councillor Loughlin. Be it resolved that Council accepts this information, invitations to the events listed below. First invitation is from Red Apple Stores, their grand opening on June 1st, 2019. Then the Association of Manitoba Municipalities, that is actually located in the mall, the Red Apple Store. And he actually sent an individual email when I responded. A lot of us are out of town, and he responded back, so yeah, good communicator. Anyways, Association of Manitoba Municipalities 2019 Parkland District Meeting, June 12th, and Manitoba Infrastructure Emergency Measures Organization